Prior to the mainstream arrival of social media, we photographers used to show off our photographs on sites like Flickr and DeviantArt. Now the problem with those sites was that they were used exclusively by other artists and photographers, and so if you wanted to promote your artwork with a view to selling it or getting commissions, then you were shit out of luck. So when the social media boom began, first with Facebook and then with the app-based social media services like Twitter, it was great news. Social media meant that regular people who might be interested in buying a nice print for their wall or a cool photo for their company website came into contact with artists and photographers. And for a while there, back in the day, it was like a gold rush. I remember seeing my Facebook photography page's follower count rise by the hundreds with every photograph I posted. I had a number of images shared by the popular Australia.com page, and they got an insane number of views, likes, comments and shares. And yes, I even managed to sell a few prints too. Then Facebook famously crippled the visibility of Facebook pages and started charging us punters to boost our posts. And that was the end of that. But when Instagram came along, I immediately dismissed it. I created an account not long after the app came out, but I found the size of the images to be a joke and hated being forced to use a square 1:1 ratio. I laughed at the thought that a photography app that used a postage stamp sized image feed could ever be successful. So I deleted it from my phone and thought nothing more of it. Fast forward a couple of years and Instagram had transformed the entire nature of photography and turned a whole generation of photographers into social media stars. In 2022, the platform has around 1 billion active users and continues to be the #1 photo sharing platform on the planet. And now, as Instagram's management try to take on TikTok and begin a hard pivot away from photography and into video, reels and story formats, feels like a good time to reassess it all and consider whether or not Insta's a useful platform for the photographic community anymore, or indeed whether it ever really was. As I mentioned, I well and truly missed the boat when it comes to Instagram. By the time I realised just how transformative the app was, every man and his dog was posting photos on there. Like a lot of us photographers, I went through the motions for a long time. I'd upload my photographs, diligently hashtag them all and reply to anyone who commented. And then I just stopped. I wasn't getting any substantial traction from Instagram and I wasn't prepared to put in the work to do so. And by traction, I don't just mean followers, I mean meaningful outcomes. After all, what's the point of putting in all that effort if you don't get anything back? You don't need millions of followers if you only need to get seen by people or companies that are local to you. After all, my failure to make a dent on Instagram may have been because my photos just weren't up to scratch, of course, or because I wasn't prepared to follow the formula. But the fact was that I had more deep-seated issues with the service that went all the way back to my very first and early experiences with it. I do still upload photographs to Instagram when I remember, but I haven't done so seriously, like uploading every day or several times a day, for about 5 years now. I was talking to a photography chum about this over a pint of lager, and as we were chatting I realised that the biggest problem I have with Instagram is that it conditions its user base into a state of uniformity and conformity. The conformity is visible in myriad ways on Insta. For instance, if you have a scroll through the feeds of photographers who've found success on the platform, you'll notice there is a distinct vibe to their images. And I'm not just talking about their style, it goes way beyond that. The photographers who do well on Instagram effectively upload the same photo over and over again. They upload the same themes, such as aerial shots of ocean waves or city streets in the rain. They upload the same colour palette, such as tan and teal or pastel blues. They upload the same styles, such as high key or crushed blacks. And they repeat this process ad infinitum. And by the way, would you like to buy my Lightroom presets pack so all your shots can look like mine too? And if you don't want to just take my word for it, then check out Peter McKinnon's recent video on this very subject, preferably after you finish watching this one, which I will link to up here. If you skip to the 6:50 mark in that video, you'll find Peter interviewing the lifestyle photographer Short Stash. This is a guy who's made it big on Insta and says, and I quote, "People are growing, but it's because they want to fit into this niche and what's trending. Everyone's trying so hard to fit into the same box." I know photographers are supposed to have a style, but this kind of photographic output bears more in common with cloning than creativity to me. It seems very cynical to me and the polar opposite of the spontaneity and creativity that I love about photography and the infinite possibilities that present themselves every time you go out with a camera. Or maybe I've missed the point completely and Instagram was never about creativity in the first place. The other problem with Instagram is that it pushes photographers to focus on what gets the most clicks, which is fine if you just want to build up your follow account, but it runs contrary to independently developing your own style. Instead of taking photographs that please you, you're taking shots that you know will do well in the feed. More often than not, that means simply copying what successful Instagrammers are doing, which means that everyone's photos start looking exactly the same. That focus on likes also means that Instagram is effectively a competition. It pits one photographer against another and the winner is the one who gets the most likes. It has nothing to do with the merits of the photograph, which brings us back to the problem of photographers specifically taking photographs that they know will do well in that Instagram feed competition. Since the day Instagram arrived, it's also encouraged the posting of highly edited images. Those original Instagram filters became famous and were quickly adopted by photographers to give their images a look that was highly saturated or highly contrasted or both. Many of the posts that do well on Insta are often more artwork than photograph. Skies are replaced, stuff is cloned out, the colour palette is completely altered. The images clearly appeal to people because they keep getting the clicks, but they're not really photographs anymore. Photographs that do well often tend to be quite abstract, such that the subject of the photo is almost invisible. So for instance, if it's a photo of a sandy beach, then it could be a photograph of literally any sandy beach on the planet, because all the distinguishing features are ignored. I always thought that landscape photography was about evoking a sense of place, but the vast majority of photos on Instagram only evoke a mood and then consequently feel quite sterile. Sometimes, of course, the location is all that matters in an Instagram shot. The app popularised certain locations and turned them into a magnet for Instagrammers who wanted to recreate popular shots. Trolltunga in Norway, Horseshoe Bend in Arizona, Santorini, Moraine Lake in Banff, the Cliffs of Moher in Ireland, Roy's Peak in New Zealand. You know the locations and have no doubt heard of the queues of people lining up to take their own unique photograph. Now, it might just be a bloke thing, but I think we all have a particular app that we doom scroll through whilst we're on the shitter. For a while that app was Instagram for me, but a couple of years in, as the Insta photo style had homogenised and spread like a virus throughout the entire platform, it got a bit monotonous. I wanted to say nice things about the images by photographers I followed, but I ran out of ways of saying it. And that brings me around to one of the central problems with Instagram, its total and complete lack of sincerity. If you're trying to make a name for yourself on Instagram, then you need to play the game. This means schmoozing other photographers by leaving over-effusive comments on their photographs. They will then return the favour, leaving you adoring comments on your photographs, and so it goes on and on and on. I was invited to several like and share groups over the years which had this simple purpose in mind. You scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. You'd be dropped into a group of 15 to 20 others, and every time one of you posted, you were supposed to hit that love emoji and leave a nice comment. If you're willing to play the game, then the quality of your photographs is totally irrelevant. Some photographers seem to be able to blow smoke up each other's asses with ease, but I just couldn't stomach it. If when I was active on Instagram I left you a glowing comment on your photograph, it was because I actually liked it, not because I wanted you to give me a reach around and return the favour. And I suppose that when I worked out just how rigged the system was, I decided to take my ball and go home. I wasn't prepared to go through the Insta motions, the grifting you have to do to bend that famous algorithm in your direction. And if you gave up on Instagram too, then perhaps that's your reasoning as well. As you may have worked out, when it comes to social media, I am not a natural study. And of course, while I'm talking about Instagram, the issues I've mentioned are common to all social media platforms. And further to that, I have no suggestions for improving the situation. No matter how it works, people that want to get ahead will find a way to push the odds in their favour by any means necessary. Whether it's by sharing photographs that are on trend, or by buying a bot account, or by joining a like and comment group, they'll find a way. And particularly when it comes to Instagram, photography is the loser. Instagram has managed to simultaneously popularise photography in a way that the hobby photographers of yesteryear could never have imagined, whilst turning it into a barren wasteland of interchangeable visual lies, a homogenised eye candy farm where quality and truth are irrelevant and only clicks and comments count. When I did eventually stop pretending to give a shit about Instagram, I decided to concentrate on my own website and more recently on YouTube. Having my own website totally under my control was the best decision I've made in a long time. It was a lot of work designing it, building it and regularly updating it, but it's my own creation from top to bottom. It gets me far more paid work than Instagram ever did and much more exposure. It works by my rules, not those of some massive sleazy conglomerate run by a dead-eyed prick from Menlo Park, and it cannot be tweaked, changed without my say-so, or indeed taken away from me. From what I've been reading lately, it looks like the gig might be up for Instagram. The influencers seem to have shifted focus onto the behemoth that is TikTok, and even those photographers who cultivated massive follower counts on Insta are now experiencing social stagnation and are looking for the next big thing. As to what that next big thing might be, your guess is as good as mine. We can only hope that it celebrates the individual and not the herd, but I won't be holding my breath on that front. Alright, that's it for this video, guys. Are you big on Instagram? Did you achieve popularity and an adoring legion of followers, or did you only make the tiniest of ripples on the furthest edges of the pond? Did you once use it and then abandon it, or are you persevering with it because there's no decent alternative? As always, let me know down in the comments, and if you enjoy my video, help me bend the YouTube algorithm in my direction by subscribing to my channel. I will haul myself out on a regular basis, and I always guarantee a happy ending. Till the next time, guys, ta-ta.